of your portfolio. Giselle, welcome.
Thank you, James.
And here we are. This is a whole different kind of painting of yours, and it's quite bright. We're going to look at Free Spirit, Sending My Love, and Love Bunch. So let's pull up Free Spirit.
Yeah, so first I'll share this series actually started from, I collaborated with Jasic Chocolate. You probably heard of Jasic Chocolate here in Sherwood Park, Jacqueline, and she had asked me to collaborate with her and paint a bunch of chocolates, I think back in 2016 for Mother's Day. We were doing a promotion. So I was asked to come into the factory and paint 2,000 chocolates by hand with her and her team to release for Mother's Day. And then it turned into like, she had this event where she had like a seating of 50 people to come and watch me live paint, and they were doing a chocolate tasting. But from that time of joining up with her, and there was this flower shop called Fabulosity, it's called in Edmonton here. I hadn't done any flower arrangement paintings before, and so I started one, and then it just built from there, and I made over 150 paintings in this series. Now this is all that I have currently in the series when I did this, but it kind of blossomed this whole punny word here. It blossomed all these ideas for paintings. Now the first one, the Free Spirit, I'm talking here about, the title is a lot about myself, being a person who, I don't plan a lot of my day or my month or my year. I'm very much more spontaneous. I plan loosely, I guess I should say. So my paintings reflect partly myself. Of course, you have to. It just happens naturally as an artist is creating. So this piece represents myself, and then all the other free spirits out there who are similar and relate to that way of living. You just kind of, I don't even remember what I wrote in there, but maybe talking about the same thing, but just how, yeah, it's kind of, it's loose, it's moving, and there's no like, what's the word? There's not a lot of grounding in this painting. It's very sort of floating and just kind of, you know, being who it is, and just kind of in free in all the ways of color and movement, and the way it just kind of sits and floats in that space. So that's kind of my intention behind this one.
And where was it painted?
This one was painted, I believe, at the studio. This one. Yeah.
The patio at the Fairmont. That's what it says, but you might have it wrong.
Did I say that there? So then, yeah.
On a beautiful summer evening, and when you thought I was in the studio, so you might have another one. You might be the same evening, right? And the reason I asked, you know, I'm asked about where you're at, but also at the Fairmont, because you know what this looks like to me is a bridal bouquet in a way.
Yeah, 100%. So like, because of that flower, the flower shop Fabulosity, when they collaborated with me, and we did this big event together, like I said before, I hadn't done any paintings at like bouquet inspired pieces. And so, yeah, it's kind of this bouquet piece that kind of, I took the first few I did in this series had a vase attached to the bottom.
Yeah.
And then I started taking out the vase and just having the flowers sitting there without that like space where they sit inside, and then this whole series came out of it. So yeah, sorry, I did paint that. I see that there. The type is very small, but
no, it's okay. It's okay. It's you did how many paintings in the bouquet series?
Over 150.
Okay, so yeah. And I can, you know, there's got to be some times because you're very, you know, upbeat. I see there is that movement, from the you know, from the upper or from the lower right upwards. You know, the movement is fantastic. The branches, you know, and we haven't had a chance to visit on it. I've noticed in some of your short segments, like your time lapse segments, and one of your the full show where there's been branches, but I haven't talked to you. But there's almost branches in here, so it speaks to some structure, and it's very interesting. And
yeah, and those darker lines, like when you're looking at the pleasing composition, like the darker lines, if those darker lines weren't there, it just gives it this like dimension, right? It gives it the darks and the lights, and it pushes forward and pushes back. And there should be some sort of, if there's no tension in a painting, I feel like good paintings need tension, not bad tension, just tension. So it creates that like harder lines with the softer petals, and it just gives it like personality and dimension. Yeah, just with those. And I think because it was painted live again, like at the Fairmont, it also reminds me of like my in and out of conversation with people where I'm turning and talking and stopping to talk, and it's got like multiple heads almost to it.
I know.
Because it's like I have to play all these roles when I'm live painting, and it's a lot when I'm doing it. And I didn't necessarily know how much it was going to be for me to take on that all those roles while I'm painting. And so sometimes maybe I feel like I've got multiple heads.
And you know, you're gonna have to revisit that, and we'll talk about it, you know, as we go. But it's interesting that you identified the stronger colors, the branches I call them, as forming a pleasing tension. And in me, that's sort of a vibration, and that vibration to me, that tells us, it begins to tell more of a story. You know what I mean? Like I can look at that picture and wonder and think and conjecture of all sorts of just wonderful reasons why it's there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And even I'm drawn right into the middle of the flower, like I'm coming up to smell it. It's so good. It's that giving and receiving in your art. It's so neat. Let's take a
Love
look
that.
at. I know, it's just like you have when there's I use it on your posts. Kindly I do that, but also on your beginning of your website. There's such a great way that you describe it, and it is true. And here we are.
Art has always had a way of breaking down barriers. It has provided a place where strangers can find common ground, where normally that wouldn't happen. Art is connection, storytelling. Art is hope. And when I paint, I want to tell a story. Because for me, it is more than just a mountain scene or a forest or flowers. It's a feeling. It is a feeling that comes from being in that space, and that is what I put on canvas. But when I paint, I want my art to inspire hope. The colors I select, the textures I use, even the landscapes themselves are all intentionally designed to help create a sense of hope in people. I want others to feel lifted as they're drawn into one of my paintings. In order to achieve the vision of hope in my paintings and to elicit that feeling in others, I have to dig deep and allow my own vulnerability to show up. I have learned to trust the process over the years, and the more vulnerable I allow myself to be, the deeper the connection my clients seem to have with the paintings. For the past decade, I find it amazing how art can open people up to share stories they wouldn't normally. Beyond the art, hope can be instilled in the simplest of conversations. Passing on kindness or an encouraging word, it's amazing what hope can do in someone. I realized that live painting was a way of impacting people in a different way than just seeing a painting on a wall. Being part of watching the creative process opens people's minds, which then creates a gateway of communication between strangers. Another thing I am passionate about is charities. I have a goal to raise $1 million for charity, and I'm getting closer and closer to that goal. I work closely with charities by painting live at events and donating the art to be auctioned off for their cause. I've had the privilege of taking on some really fun projects, like painting for the Canadian Embassy in Abu Dhabi to celebrate Canada's 150th, painting on a Lexus luxury car for the Vignettes Design Series, a mural on the side of a building, or flying to Dubai to be the featured painter at the Raffles Hotel. As the world becomes smaller, one thing has always been constant: being able to share stories with others. And through all this, hope remains. My name is Giselle Denis, and I am an artist.
sending my love.
Yeah, I can't really see what I wrote about. So these, when I post them, I write a blurb and then I don't
let me read it. I think that it'd be nice. Something
Yeah.
I'd like to say to a loved one who is not with me in person. I feel like when we say things out loud, our words become action and are carried out into the air. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, like almost picture this one, like you don't see the hand holding the bouquet, but it's like you're giving this thing to someone. And how can we send love to someone, you know, when we can't physically be there with them? And so it's thinking of creative ways to express our love to the people that we love. Like a lot of my loved ones are nowhere close to me. Like a lot of my closest friends don't live in the city. My own family, a lot of them are scattered around. My own brother lives in Ontario. My nieces live out, you know what I mean? So it's this expression of, and it's this way of like a metaphor of how do we express love. And sometimes, yeah, we send a flower bouquet to someone's doorstep to say, I love you. And it's learning people's, what their love language is. And then respecting that, what their love language is, and showing them that love. So like, of course, we've all heard that book, The 5 Love Languages, and like each family member in an own household, like I'm very much like a words of encouragement person. And I love physical touch. Well, my son, he cares zero about physical touch. He doesn't want hugs, although he does love it when we wrestle and we like, you know, bug each other that way. So, but I have to learn like, what is my son's love language, and then accept and respect his love language, and then show him the love that he needs to be that he needs to receive. And same with my husband and stuff. So that's kind of the explanation for that one.
It's interesting that you brought up hugs, and I'm just going to go on a little bit of a segue.
Oh, good.
Because you brought up your son. So there's a time lapse, one of your time lapse pictures or movies or videos, and your son makes an appearance.
Yeah.
He goes by and comes by. He looks like he's got a snack out of the fridge, right? And it looks like you're not painting. It doesn't look like you're painting in the studios. For some reason, you're upstairs and you're like right in the middle of your family traffic. And then he goes off, and then it's like you go off after him. It's just like I'm sitting there watching it. I'm laughing. It's like he's supposed to be doing his schoolwork. He's supposed to be in class. And he's coming out to eat, and mom's after him. So it was so cute. That was my view of it. Right? I don't know what was really happening.
I'm so glad. And I left it in there. I knew it was going to be there. And I thought, oh, maybe the time lapse will be so fast you won't even notice. And then when I watched it back, I thought, you know what? This is real life. Like people see it's sort of behind the scenes. It's the studio. He's in and out. I got to chase him back up to his room.
Oh, so he is downstairs. He's just coming down there. That's what is happening. He's supposed to be at school. Anyway, so back to hugs. The first thing, now this doesn't come across to me, maybe it might be a bouquet, but this comes across to me as a different kind of flower arrangement. This comes across to me like a memorial arrangement, you know, it's laid somewhere or set up on a tripod. And the first thing that I wanted to do is wrap my arm around it and hold it, you know what I mean, to lift it up. You know what I mean? Then you brought up hugs, so it was so interesting that what you're actually saying and trying to paint it purposely intentful into your pictures is radiantly communicated. It's so good. And again, you know, it's I get a olfactory, like a scent sensation. Not that I'm smelling anything, but I expect to be able to smell something when I'm looking at it. You know, so, and the colors are so upbeat. You know, and again,
that's a really big one too. It's 5 feet tall, so it's larger than life when you see it in person. Like, I mean, we're just looking at these little thumbnails. So when you get an impression,
there it is. Yes, yes.
On a screen, it's very different in person. That much more impactful, of course, in person.
Now that's so.
People keep telling me like, yeah. People say like the images online don't really do the image justice, but it's what we've got. So, you know, at least you can see what I was going for, and then
Well, maybe we could convince you to get your open house studio set up and take everybody through with a virtual video tour, and we can then revisit it, and we can talk while we get the visual impact. Just an idea.
I like that.
Don't have to, because I'm hearing from people that they've come out and seen, and this is supposed to be my first year, and then it gets COVID canceled. You know what I mean? So that's okay. I don't know. I'm just being a bad fan there. A selfish fan, not a bad fan, a selfish fan.
No, it's not. It's you're engaged, an engaged fan.
Here we are, another big piece. The Love Bunch. Now, isn't this interesting, what you've done here? You tell me, you see. Okay, I like to think of a family as a bunch of flowers. Perhaps this is what a family portrait could look like in flower form. Each bloom represents the unique personalities and what they bring and make the family what it is. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny because I often get asked, do you do portraits and things like that? And I'm like, well, okay. This is what I do. I do all these nature paintings, and I've actually had a few people like the idea of, yeah, if you were to paint my family portrait in nature form, what would that look like? And they let me have the creative freedom to create something. So this wasn't a commissioned piece. This was just me making it. And while I'm making them, I don't necessarily know what the theme it will be or what I'll talk about after. But as I stood back and looked at it, the names usually come quite quickly. And it just reminded me of like maybe a family portrait, but like a lot of the family, like, the cousins and the grandpas and the aunts and uncles and the new babies. And so I actually have done a number of commissions with that are very like sort of loosely ordered, saying whether it's flowers or a forest with the number of trees are significant. I've got this many members of my family. Can you put those numbers of members of the family in there? Incorporate, this many flowers in the bottom because it represents, the amount of years I've been married or things like that. So they're very symbolic. I find the orders that come in, and there's intention behind each one, of course, too, and sometimes even deeper intention than others. So you tell me, what is your thoughts on this one?
Just, first I'm going to have to revisit that portrait before we leave today. That is so insightful. I knew that you were doing commission work, but I didn't realize that it was from there. So before I get totally derailed, let's go back to Love Bunch. Okay. I am seeing colors in here that were similar to in the sky, mainly, and I may be wrong. Was this done in Dubai?
This was actually done in the studio. This one.
It was done in the studio.
Yeah, it was done here.
It had just.
But yeah, I see what you're saying about Dubai. Now, what year did I do this one? I'm trying to see. It's hard to see the number. It may have been the first year I ended up going to Dubai, or maybe just beforehand. But yeah, the color, the selection of color it's a bit more warm.
It's the sky, the sky being those desert skies. Like once you're there, how are you not influenced? The colors are so there, right? But okay, then the other thing that I see is the use of gold in the grass. It's so interesting. And that speaks to so much value and the abundance of harvest, and then the flowers. And now that you shared with me that you do flower expression of groups of people, that just that makes me so far beyond my ability to describe what I see in less than 90 minutes, but that is so good. I like how it the virtual reality effect of how you paint, the vibrancy of it, the fact that there's literally a physical texture, and again the expectation of scent that comes through, and almost a somatic kind of expectation too, of a breeze or other sounds. Like it's very, your work is very timeless and very, very, very interesting, and it's just awesome. What a great time. Now, before we go, because this is shop with Giselle, the flower paintings, and now we've talked about creativity before, but then when you encounter the commissioned request, where is that creative point then? Is it coming to you as a premonition, or is it built as you apply it?
Both.
Okay. Wow.
It's like all of everything kind of comes into alignment as I create it. So when I have a painting on order, or whether I'm just executing a painting, but since we're talking about a commissioned order piece, I literally I painted in my head like over and over and over again for many days, maybe even weeks or maybe months, until I feel the completion of it inside of me, if that makes sense. And then I let it spill out in the order that it comes out. And as much as I can, I release myself to the creative process and let it, without any contrived control. I just trust that I have what I need. I have the skill, I have the experience, I have the ability, I have the courage, I have all of the things I need to make this painting a great painting right now. I have to sit there and believe that I can do it. And it can be, it's a place that's really, it can be difficult to come to that place and believe that, okay, these people like what I make. And so I have to do everything I can to pull out who I am and what I make, because that's what they want. They want me on canvas. They want me to execute this thing with the my touch that only I can put onto that canvas. I mean, sure, anyone can paint flowers, anyone can paint scenes of trees or whatever. Anyone can do that, but everybody has their own way of doing it and executing it, just like everybody's, everyone's fingerprint looks different. So I have to really just really relax and paint with intention to know, okay, I can do this. What I have to offer has value. My voice has value. So I'm going to put that on this canvas and trust that a great painting is going to come out and they're going to love it. So yeah, it's a place to, I do a lot of walking and meditating and praying and reflection and time. There's a lot of work involved in putting yourself into those places in your mind and your soul and your spirit. I go for lots of bike rides and walks, and I thrive in time alone. I mean, time with people is great too, but I really feel like a refuel. I give myself breaks. I give myself time and painting time too, to get better and to continue to trust that I can be good at this. And there's still, I have doubt. I have can I still, insecurities of oh my gosh, how am I going to make this a great painting? And so you just have to learn to let go and just trust it'll be great.
That's so good. And the fact that you're a not empath, you're not an empath, but you move by feeling, and take the rational expression. Other people have a rational expression and try to feel it. You move by your feelings. So when you're bringing in these commissions, you're caring about these people. I can feel that, right? You're finding your time that you can connect, and maybe you're wondering, have I connect properly, right?
Right.
So good. And now the other thing is, how many in your virtual internal workshop, your gallery there, your workstation, how many works can you work on in your mind? Infinite? How many, 20? How many are you carrying inside you? When you say,
how many
yeah,
paintings do I have inside me at once? I don't know. Probably tons. That's a very abstracted question. I don't know how to answer that really, but I would say the well of ideas is just deepens and deepens and deepens as the years go by. As every painting I make, I think it'll never run dry. Especially when you're creating every day. We may have talked about this before, how I feel like I could never run out of ideas. I feel like I don't have enough time to get all the ideas out of me. Sometimes it's for creatives, it can be frustrating, because if you're really in it and you're constantly pouring out things, it's like even my post today talks about I flow from the canvas, I flow from the easel to the keyboard to the outside. I feel like I'm a butterfly, just I almost in panic, I don't have enough time to get all the ideas.
Hey, what a fantastic space. This is awesome.
Thank you.
All right, we're here to do a Q&A. So Giselle, why do a Q&A?
It'd be great for people to get to know me a little bit better.
So who is Giselle Denis?
I am an artist
Why painting?
because I have a music degree.
How would you describe your style?
Loose and free.
What other artists inspire you?
Claude Monet, Van Gogh, George O'Keeffe.
What artist, living or dead, would you like to collaborate with?
Claude Monet.
What goes through your mind as you're painting?
I think I don't think as much. I feel more than I think.
How do you know when you're done a painting?
You're never done. You just have to know when to stop.
All right, oils or acrylics?
Acrylics.
How many paintings do you paint in 1 year?
I counted 1 year and I painted 450.
Wow, that's a lot. All right, tell me what your favorite thing in the studio is.
The light.
Hey Giselle, messy or neat?
Oh, totally neat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. What do you do when you get paint on a dress?
I swear, and then I will go buy a new dress.
Have you ever gone paint on someone else?
Yes. I have.
What is something you wish for people to know about you?
About me. That I paint with intention, that my message is all about hope. It's not just a bunch of pretty paintings.
What's one thing you're looking forward to in your future?
Traveling more with my art.
Okay, Giselle, trick question. What is your favorite color?
All the colors.
What is the most embarrassing thing that's happened to you while live painting?
One time my easel completely fell apart 1 minute before going on live TV. That was embarrassing.
Yeah, that can be stressful too. Okay, what is the rudest thing someone has ever said about your art?
That my art is pussy art.
How about the nicest thing?
That my art looks like me.
All right, Giselle, what intimidates you?
Public speaking.
What overwhelms you?
Oh, a room full of loud children.
What inspires you?
Everything.
And what is your favorite painting?
Usually the last painting I made.
If you could say something to your younger self, what would it be?
Care less about what people think of you.
What advice do you have for other artists?
Paint more.
What's the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning?
I stretch and drink coffee.
The last thing before bed?
I stretch and read.
If you could describe yourself in one song, what song would it be?
Right now, a song by Rhea May called Thoughts on Fire.
What is your biggest weakness?
Probably organization.
Your biggest strength?
Positivity and persistence.
What's your favorite place you've ever visited?
Dubai, of course.
What's a cause that's really important to you?
Causes that take care of women and children, particularly little warriors.
All right, Giselle, we reached the final question of this interview. What is going through your mind right now?
Ask me more questions. This is so fun.
All right, thanks, Giselle, for having us. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Is what I can do today and in this moment and just relax, chill the heck out. It can be so hard because I have a pile of projects on my desk that I have to get through. There's ideas that I want to make just because I want to make them and put them out there, whether it's paintings, whether it's songs, and then, you know, creative time with my son and his projects. And it's like, oh my gosh, if only I could clone myself. When someone does, let me know so I can clone a few of me so I can, and I love experiencing life to, like, you know, fullest way possible. But it can be hard and frustrating. It's like I'm happy and excited. I have all these ideas, but I just don't feel like I have enough time to get it all out there. But yeah,
Well, you know, you're
what are you gonna do? Just every day create something.
you're doing.
I know I sound exhausting. I'm exhausting myself when I talk.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's fantastic, you know, to be in your studio, and thank you, you know, for allowing us to come shop with you. And next week we are in Forest.
We're in the forest. I love it. I'll meet you in the forest, James. But when you purchase a painting from me, you can get it within like a week, sometimes sooner if you know, if I can get it to the courier and he doesn't have a pile of things to ship out, he's very quick. So paintings always arrive quite, you know, pleasantly on time or early. So yeah, it's great.
Audio Jungle.